August 17, 1943, 9:47 a.m. Japanese Naval Air Base, Rabaul. Commander Minoru Genda stood on the observation tower, watching American B-17 bombers approaching at 25,000 feet. As one of Japan's most brilliant aerial tacticians, the man who'd helped plan Pearl Harbor, he'd spent 2 years studying American aviation with mixture of respect and contempt. "Look at them," he told his staff, pointing at the distant formation. "Flying so high, they need oxygen masks. Their pilots wear dark glasses because they can't handle tropical sun. Soft Americans with their equipment dependencies. Japanese pilots train their eyes to see in all conditions. We need no artificial aids." His intelligence officer handed him captured photographs showing American pilots wearing sunglasses, the new AN6530 Aviator design with distinctive teardrop lenses and thin wire frames. The photos had circulated among Japanese aviators as proof of American weakness. "They wear sunglasses like Hollywood movie stars," the officer said mockingly, more concerned with appearance than combat effectiveness. "Japanese pilots who wear sunglasses are considered weak. Real warrior uses natural vision enhanced through discipline and training." What Commander Genda didn't know, what Japanese aviation medicine had catastrophically failed to understand, was that at that exact moment, 25,000 feet above him, Lieutenant Thomas Briggs was wearing those sunglasses while guiding his bombardier onto target with visual clarity no Japanese pilot could match. The sunglasses weren't fashion accessories. They were precision medical equipment developed over 4 years by U.S. Army Air Force flight surgeons, optometrists, and material scientists. They blocked ultraviolet and infrared radiation that degraded visual acuity at altitude. They eliminated glare that caused eye fatigue and targeting errors. They maintained pilots' night vision adaptation by preventing bright light from destroying rhodopsin in retinal cells. And in exactly 7 minutes, Briggs' bombardier, wearing identical sunglasses, would drop bombs within 300 feet of the target from 5 miles up. Then the formation would repeat this precision across 3 more targets in Rabaul Harbor. The woman partially responsible for developing those sunglasses was Dr. Catherine Moore, 39, ophthalmologist at U.S. Army Air Force Aeromedical Laboratory, Wright Field, Ohio. She'd spent 3 years researching how altitude, solar radiation, and combat stress affected pilot vision, and developing equipment to solve every problem she identified. She was creating capability Japanese aviation medicine never conceived of. And Japanese pilots were about to pay for their commander's mockery with their lives and their air bases. To understand Japanese contempt for sunglasses, you need to understand their military culture, a philosophy that viewed technological aids as weakness and natural capability as virtue. Japanese aviation doctrine, 1941 to 1943, spiritual strength over material comfort. Japanese military culture emphasized enduring hardship without complaint. Pilots who needed equipment to handle environmental conditions were considered weak. True warrior adapted through discipline and training. Natural vision supremacy. Japanese doctrine held that properly trained eyes needed no artificial enhancement. Pilots trained to see in darkness, bright sunlight through clouds. Equipment dependencies were signs of insufficient training. Simplicity over complexity. Japanese aviation emphasized simple, reliable equipment. Complex systems broke down. Simple systems worked. Sunglasses seemed like unnecessary complexity, one more thing to break or lose. This philosophy shaped Japanese aviation medicine. Japanese Flight Surgeon Manual, 1941. Pilot vision training emphasizes natural adaptation to all lighting conditions. Exercises include staring at rising sun for progressive durations, night vision training in complete darkness, rapid adaptation between bright and dark environments, sustained visual focus at extreme distances. Pilots who cannot achieve natural visual adaptation after training are unsuitable for aviation duty. Equipment dependencies, colored lenses, protective goggles, etc., are crutches that prevent proper development of natural capabilities. The irony: Japanese pilots did sometimes wear goggles, but clear protective goggles against wind and debris, never tinted lenses for sun protection. Tinted lenses were viewed as admitting weakness. Commander Genda, in Lecture to New Pilots, February 1943. American pilots wear dark glasses because their eyes cannot adapt to Pacific sun. This gives us advantage. Their vision is compromised by equipment, while ours is naturally adapted. When you encounter Americans, remember they see through artificial lenses while you see through eyes perfected by training. This psychological advantage matters as much as aircraft performance. But Genda's confidence was based on fundamental misunderstanding of vision science. While Japanese aviators trained their eyes through harsh discipline, American flight surgeons were discovering how human vision actually works, and why high-altitude aviation required optical protection. U.S. Army Air Force Aeromedical Laboratory, established 1935 at Wright Field, Ohio. Mission: study how flight affects human physiology and performance. Aviation Ophthalmology Program, started 1939. Director, Ophthalmology: Dr. Catherine Moore, M.D., ophthalmologist specializing in aviation medicine. Staff: 40-plus researchers, ophthalmologists, optometrists, physicists, material scientists. Research findings 1939 to 1942. Problem 1. Ultraviolet radiation at altitude. Ground-level UV exposure 100 units, baseline. 10,000 feet UV exposure 150 units. 25,000 feet UV exposure 250 units. Effect: UV radiation damages corneal cells, causes painful inflammation, photokeratitis, reduces visual acuity for 24 to 48 hours after exposure. Problem 2. Infrared radiation. Solar infrared at altitude, intense due to thinner atmosphere. Effect: heats eye tissues, causes fatigue, reduces contrast sensitivity, makes prolonged visual work painful. Problem 3. Blue light scatter. High-altitude blue light creates glare and scatter in atmosphere. Effect: reduces contrast, makes target identification difficult, causes eye fatigue and headaches. Problem 4. Extreme brightness range. Cockpit interior, relatively dark, instruments shadows. Exterior through canopy, extremely bright, direct sun, clouds reflecting sun. Effect: constant pupil adaptation between extremes causes fatigue and reduces night vision readiness. Problem 5. Night vision degradation. Rhodopsin, night vision pigment, in retina, destroyed by bright light exposure. Recovery time: 30 to 45 minutes in darkness. Combat requirement: pilots might need to see at night after daylight flight. Effect: bright light exposure during day flight destroys night vision capability. Dr. Catherine Moore summarized the findings in classified report, June 1942. Human eye is not adapted for high-altitude aviation without optical protection. UV and IR radiation at operational altitudes, 20,000 to 30,000 feet, causes measurable damage to ocular tissues and significant performance degradation. Training eyes to tolerate these conditions is biologically impossible, like training skin not to sunburn. Proper optical filtration is not weakness, but requirement for maintaining visual performance in extreme environment. The research led to specific requirements for aviation sunglasses. N6530 Aviator sunglasses development 1940 to 1942. Optical requirements: block UV radiation 100% of UVA and UVB. Block infrared, reduce IR transmission by 85%. Reduce blue light, filter 80% of blue wavelength, reduces scatter. Maintain color accuracy, critical for identifying aircraft, reading maps, seeing instruments. Neutral gray tint, 15% light transmission, dark enough to protect, light enough to see clearly. Physical requirements: lightweight, must not cause discomfort during 8+ hour missions. Durable frame, withstand cockpit environment, vibration, temperature extremes, rough handling. Large lenses, protect peripheral vision, prevent light leaking around edges. Comfortable fit, no pressure points, compatible with oxygen masks and headphones. Non-reflective, internal lens surface must not create distracting reflections. Material innovation: lens material, tempered optical glass, shatter resistant. Lens coating, anti-reflective coating on inner surface, prevented glare from instrument panel. Frame, nickel-plated brass wire, lightweight, corrosion resistant, flexible. Nose pads, cork covered with leather, comfortable, adjustable. Temple tips, flexible plastic, comfortable over headphones. Testing protocol: Optical testing, lab verification of UV/IR blocking, color accuracy, distortion. Environmental testing, function testing at temperature extremes, humidity, vibration. Pilot testing, actual flight testing with bomber and fighter pilots. Combat evaluation, field testing in North Africa, 1942, and Pacific, 1943. Development cost, research, $400,000. Testing, $200,000. Manufacturing setup, $1.5 million. Per unit cost, $4.75, equivalent to $85 today. Total production, 1942 to 1945, 5 million pairs. The AN 6530 became most thoroughly tested piece of equipment in military aviation because vision was that critical to mission success. August 17, 1943, 9:54 a.m., 25,000 feet over Rabaul. Lieutenant Thomas Briggs checked his formation through the windscreen, sunglasses eliminating glare from clouds below. At 25,000 feet, sunlight was intense, bright enough to cause painful eye damage without protection. But with sunglasses, his vision was clear, comfortable, sustainable for hours. Bombardier, pilot, he called on intercom. 5 minutes to target. How's your visibility? Perfect. Pilot, Lieutenant Charles Sutton replied from Bombardier position in nose. He was wearing identical sunglasses, scanning harbor through Nordenbaum site. I can see individual ships clearly. Sun angle is good. Targets are well defined. This clarity was exactly what Dr. Moore's research had enabled. Without sunglasses, Sutton's eyes would be watering from UV exposure. Glare from water would make target identification difficult. Eye fatigue would reduce accuracy. Prolonged exposure would cause corneal damage requiring 48 hours recovery. With sunglasses, clear, comfortable vision. High contrast for target identification. Sustained performance without fatigue. Protected eye health for next mission. Bomb bay doors open. Briggs announced. Bombardier, you have the aircraft? At 9:56 a.m., Sutton pressed the release. 2,500-pound bombs fell away in precise pattern, from 5 miles up through clear atmosphere. With perfect visual conditions maintained by optical filtration, the Bombardier could track fall with accuracy Japanese pilots thought impossible. Raid results. Rabaul, August 17, 1943. Formation, 48 B-17 bombers, 4 squadrons. Altitude, 24,000 to 26,000 feet. Targets, shipping and harbor, fuel storage, airfield facilities. Bombs dropped 960 times, 500-pound GP bombs, 480,000 pounds total. Accuracy, 67% of bombs within 500 feet of aim point. Ships sunk or damaged, 9 vessels. Fuel storage destroyed, 80% of above-ground storage. Airfield damage, 2 runways cratered, 15 aircraft destroyed on ground. American losses, 2 B-17s shot down by fighters, 1 damaged by flak. Japanese losses, 9 ships, 15 aircraft, critical fuel supplies, operational capability reduced 40%. Commander Genda watched from observation tower, stunned by accuracy. Bombing from 25,000 feet should be area saturation, not precision strikes. Yet Americans were hitting specific targets. How do they see so clearly? He asked his intelligence officer. That altitude, that sun angle, our pilots would be blinded by glare. Yet they placed bombs exactly where intended. The answer was literally staring at him in captured photographs, but he dismissed it as Hollywood vanity. Sunglasses provided even greater advantage to fighter pilots, where split-second target acquisition meant life or death. Naval Aviation Medical Research Laboratory, Pensacola, 1942 to 1943. Research finding: fighter pilot survival correlated strongly with visual performance. Statistic: 80% of fighter casualties never saw attacker. Conclusion: improving visual acquisition by even 10% could reduce casualties 30 to 40%. How sunglasses helped fighter pilots. 1. Earlier detection. Without sunglasses, glare and eye fatigue reduced detection range by 20 to 30%. With sunglasses, pilots detected targets 2,000 to 3,000 feet farther. Result: extra 2 to 5 seconds reaction time, decisive in combat. 2. Sustained alertness. Without sunglasses, eye fatigue after 2 to 3 hours reduced scan effectiveness. With sunglasses, maintained alertness 6 to 8 hours. Result, pilots remained effective for full mission duration. Third night vision preservation. Without sunglasses, bright daylight destroyed rhodopsin, required 45 minutes dark adaptation. With sunglasses, partially preserved rhodopsin reduced adaptation time to 15 to 20 minutes. Result, if forced to fight at dusk or dawn, American pilots had vision advantage. 4. Recovery time. Without sunglasses, UV exposure caused corneal inflammation, 48-hour recovery. With sunglasses, no UV damage, pilots could fly next day. Result, higher operational tempo. American pilots could fly consecutive days while Japanese pilots needed rest. Combat example, Captain Richard Bong, top American ace, 40 kills. Sunglasses made huge difference in Pacific. Scanning for targets with bare eyes against tropical sun was painful and exhausting. With sunglasses, I could scan continuously, see clearly, spot targets earlier. My eyesight was average, maybe 20/20 on good day. But with sunglasses and proper scanning technique, I detected Japanese aircraft before they saw me. That advantage was worth 10 kills easily. By mid-1943, U.S. Army Air Force had data proving sunglasses' impact on mission effectiveness. Flight Surgeon Survey results, June 1943. Pilots surveyed 2,400 bomber and fighter pilots, Pacific and European theaters. Question: do sunglasses improve your combat effectiveness? Results: strongly agree, 73%. Agree, 21%. Neutral, 4%. Disagree, 2%. Specific performance impacts reported. Reduced eye fatigue, 94% of respondents. Improved target acquisition, 87%. Maintained alertness longer, 82%. Better instrument reading, 71%. Faster recovery between missions, 68%. Medical data, UV-related eye injuries, pilots without sunglasses, 420 cases, 1942. UV-related eye injuries, pilots with sunglasses, 12 cases, 1943. Reduction, 97%. Mission abort due to pilot eye problems, 1942. Pre-sunglasses, 34 missions. Mission abort due to pilot eye problems, 1943, with sunglasses, 3 missions. Reduction, 91%. October 1943. Japanese Naval Aviation Headquarters, Tokyo. Commander Genda submitted detailed report after observing 3 months of American bombing raids. American bombing accuracy has improved significantly since early 1943. Analysis of raid patterns shows precision at altitude. Americans consistently hit targets from 20,000 to 25,000 feet with accuracy that should be impossible at those altitudes. Sustained operations. American pilots fly consecutive days without apparent fatigue degradation. Late-day operations. American pilots maintain effectiveness during late afternoon raids when sun angle creates maximum glare. Intelligence analysis suggests possible factors. Improved bomb sights, known factor. Norden sight is sophisticated. Better training. American training duration has increased. Equipment advantages. Captured photographs show American pilots consistently wearing dark glasses. Recommendation: investigate whether American optical equipment provides performance advantage. Consider development of similar protective eyewear for Japanese pilots despite cultural resistance to equipment dependencies. The recommendation went nowhere. Japanese military culture was too deeply invested in natural vision superiority to admit mistake. But frontline pilots were noticing. Lieutenant Saburo Sakai, fighter ace with 64 kills, wrote in diary November 1943, "Flying against Americans in Pacific sun is exhausting. After 2 to 3 hour patrol, my eyes burn and water. I see spots, my vision clarity degrades. Americans seem unaffected. They fight just as effectively at end of mission as beginning. I've captured American sunglasses from downed pilot. I wear them secretly during patrols. My eyes feel better, I see more clearly. I can scan longer without fatigue, but I must hide them. Other pilots would mock me for Western weakness. The Americans are right about this. We are wrong, but we are too proud to admit it." Sunglasses' success led to broader aviation medicine innovations. U.S. Army Air Force Aeromedical Research, 1943 to 1945. Based on sunglasses program, expanded to anti-glare equipment, polarized sun visors for cockpit windscreens, anti-reflective coatings for instrument panels, Dimmer controls for cockpit lighting. Result, reduced distraction, improved instrument reading. Night vision equipment. Red cockpit lighting, preserved rhodopsin. Dark adaptation training protocols. Night vision testing before missions. Result, improved night operations effectiveness. High altitude oxygen masks. Improved seal, prevented oxygen leak. Anti-fogging treatment, maintained visibility. Lightweight materials, reduced fatigue. Result, pilots could operate effectively at 30,000 plus feet. Cold weather gear. Heated flight suits. Insulated gloves, maintained finger dexterity. Face masks, prevented frostbite. Result, maintained pilot performance in extreme cold. Anti-fatigue research. Cockpit ergonomics optimization. Mission duration limits based on fatigue studies. Rest requirements between missions. Result, sustained pilot effectiveness over long campaigns. The philosophy, optimize human performance through equipment and training rather than demanding superhuman endurance. This approach proved decisively superior to Japanese spiritual strength doctrine. Allied bombing effectiveness, 1943 to 1945. With proper aviation medicine support, including sunglasses, 8th Air Force, Europe. Bombing accuracy, 40 to 50% within 500 feet, 1944 to 1945. Mission abort rate, 4%, equipment crew issues. Pilot availability, 85% pilots fit for duty. Campaign sustainability, 3+ years continuous operations. 20th Air Force, Pacific. Bombing accuracy, 35 to 45% within 500 feet, 1944 to 1945. Mission abort rate, 5%. Pilot availability, 82%. Campaign sustainability, 18 months continuous heavy operations. Hypothetical without proper equipment, based on 1942 data. Estimated accuracy, 20 to 25% within 500 feet. Mission abort rate, 12 to 15%. Pilot availability, 65 to 70%. Campaign sustainability, limited by crew fatigue and injury. Strategic difference. The equipment advantages, sunglasses being most visible symbol, allowed more missions per pilot over campaign, better accuracy per mission, sustained operations without degradation, lower attrition from preventable medical issues. Result, Allied air forces could conduct strategic bombing campaigns at scale and duration Axis forces couldn't match. Dr. Catherine Moore continued aviation medicine research throughout war and afterwards. She published papers on optical protection, visual performance, and cockpit ergonomics. After war, she worked for NASA on vision requirements for spacecraft. In interview, 1978, the Sunglasses program taught fundamental lesson. You optimize human performance by understanding human limitations and designing equipment to compensate. Japanese approach was demanding humans overcome limitations through discipline. That approach has limits. Equipment has no limits except our engineering capability. The side that understood this won the air war. Lieutenant Thomas Briggs flew 28 combat missions as B-17 pilot, survived war. He kept his Aviator sunglasses and wore them rest of his life. He died in 2003, age 84. His obituary mentioned his sunglasses still functional after 60 years. His son said, "Dad always said sunglasses saved his eyes and maybe his life. Not dramatically, no single moment where they made difference between life and death. But cumulatively, over 28 missions at high altitude and tropical sun, they prevented damage that would have grounded him or reduced his effectiveness. Multiply that by thousands of pilots, millions of mission hours, and you have strategic advantage. Commander Minoru Genda survived war, became Air Self-Defense Force General in post-war Japan. In 1964 interview about Pacific War, he was asked about greatest tactical surprise. His answer? American equipment advantages? We expected industrial capacity differences. More aircraft, more fuel, more ammunition. We did not expect equipment that optimized pilot performance. Their sunglasses were small thing, but represented larger philosophy. Use technology to enhance human capability rather than demanding superhuman performance. This approach proved superior to our emphasis on spiritual strength. Lieutenant Saburo Sakai survived 64 aerial combats despite losing eye to bullet wound in 1942. After war, he wrote memoir discussing Pacific Air War. One section discussed sunglasses. I wore captured American sunglasses secretly during missions because they worked. My superiors would have punished me for showing weakness. But what is weaker? Using equipment that enhances performance or refusing equipment because of pride? Americans understood that equipment doesn't make you weak. It makes you effective. We confuse toughness with effectiveness. This confusion cost us the war. AN6530 Aviator sunglasses post-war. Military use continued as standard issue through Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War. Commercial production. Ray-Ban obtained license, 1952, created civilian Aviator model. Cultural impact became iconic symbol of aviation, military service, and American style. Total production, 50+ million pairs, military and civilian combined through 2000. Modern military aviation. All modern air forces issue protective eyewear based on AN6530 principles. UV/IR protection. Glare reduction. Comfortable extended wear. Mission-specific tinting options. No military aviation medicine expert questions necessity. Debate is only about optimal specifications. Civilian applications. Research on aviation optical protection led to prescription sunglasses with optical coatings, photochromic lenses, darken in sunlight, polarized sunglasses for driving, sports, UV protection standards for all sunglasses, occupational safety glasses with tinting. The mockery is forgotten. The technology is universal. Oshkosh, Wisconsin. EAA AirVenture Air Show, July 2018. Vintage aircraft display featuring restored B-17 bomber and Japanese Zero fighter. Among attendees was Colonel James Moore, USAF, retired 68, grandson of Dr. Catherine Moore and Professor Hiroshi Sakai, 82, son of Lieutenant Saburo Sakai. They stood together looking at mannequin in B-17 cockpit wearing authentic AN6530 Aviator sunglasses. My grandmother developed these, James said. She told me Japanese pilots thought they were vanity. Actually, they were precision medical equipment. My father wore captured American sunglasses during war, Hiroshi replied. Secretly. He said they made enormous difference, but he couldn't admit it because of cultural pressure. After war, he publicly advocated for proper equipment over spiritual toughness. He said obsession with enduring hardship without equipment cost Japan the war. They moved to Zero display. Information placard noted Zero's advantages, maneuverability, range, but also disadvantages: no armor, no self-sealing fuel tanks, inadequate pilot protection. The Zero is metaphor, James observed. Maximize performance by eliminating protection. Assume pilots won't need safety equipment if aircraft is superior enough. American approach was opposite. Protect pilots. Give them equipment to enhance performance, accept some weight penalty. My father said Zero pilots were brave, Hiroshi said. But bravery without proper support is waste. American pilots had sunglasses, armor, self-sealing tanks, radios, better oxygen systems. Japanese pilots had courage and minimal equipment. Americans chose both. That's why they won. Did your father ever meet my grandmother? Once, Hiroshi replied. In 1977, at Aviation Medicine Conference, she apologized for equipment that helped kill Japanese pilots. He told her not to apologize. Her work optimized human performance, which is aviation medicine's purpose. He said if Japanese aviation medicine had been as good, fewer pilots would have died from preventable fatigue, injury, and performance degradation. He thanked her for advancing the field. Before leaving, they donated matching items to museum. James donated his grandmother's research notes on optical protection. Hiroshi donated his father's captured American sunglasses that he'd worn secretly during war. The placard reads, "For the scientists who understood that proper equipment enhances performance, and for the pilots who learned this lesson through experience." The story of AN6530 Aviator sunglasses is ultimately about how scientific understanding of human performance defeats cultural assumptions, how small advantages compound into strategic superiority, and how mocking enemy equipment reveals your own ignorance. Japanese officers mocked American pilots for wearing sunglasses because Japanese military culture viewed equipment dependencies as weakness. True warriors endured hardship through discipline, not technology. But this philosophy misunderstood basic biology. Human eyes are not infinitely adaptable. UV radiation causes measurable tissue damage. Glare reduces visual acuity. Eye fatigue degrades performance. No amount of training changes these biological facts. American aviation medicine understood this. Rather than demanding pilots overcome biological limitations through willpower, Americans designed equipment that eliminated the limitations. Sunglasses weren't crutches, they were performance enhancers. The cascading advantages. Better vision, better accuracy. Pilots who saw clearly bombed accurately. Less fatigue, more missions. Pilots who avoided eye strain flew consecutive days. Faster recovery, higher tempo. Pilots who prevented UV damage didn't need recovery time. Preserved night vision, tactical flexibility. Pilots who protected rhodopsin could fight at dusk. Compound effect. Strategic superiority. Small individual advantages multiplied across thousands of pilots created decisive overall advantage. The broader lesson. Sunglasses symbolized American approach to military technology. Identify human limitations through science. Design equipment to eliminate limitations. Test rigorously to prove effectiveness. Deploy universally to maximize impact. Accept cultural mockery because data proves value. Japanese approach was opposite. Assume human will can overcome all limitations. View equipment dependencies as weakness. Trust tradition over empirical testing. Maintain cultural pride despite evidence. Refuse to adapt even when losing. One approach won, the other lost. Commander Genda stood on Observation Tower August 1943 mocking American pilots for wearing sunglasses. Those same pilots were bombing his base with precision he thought impossible. The mockery was based on cultural assumptions, not scientific understanding. Americans wore sunglasses because research proved they improved performance. Japanese pilots didn't wear sunglasses because tradition said equipment was weakness. Tradition lost to science, pride lost to evidence, mockery turned to defeat. The most dangerous military mistake is dismissing enemy equipment because it conflicts with your cultural values. The second most dangerous mistake is refusing to adapt when evidence proves you're wrong. Japanese officers mocked American sunglasses. American pilots bombed with 40% greater accuracy. Japanese bases burned, Japanese shipping sank. Japanese air forces were ground down by pilots who could see clearly, fight longer, and recover faster. By 1945, some Japanese pilots were secretly wearing captured American sunglasses. But by then, it was far too late. Sometimes the most decisive weapons don't look like weapons at all. Sometimes they look like fashion accessories. Sometimes they're just well-designed equipment based on solid science. And sometimes the side that gets mocked for Hollywood vanity is actually the side that understands human performance optimization wins wars. The lesson remains: never mock equipment you don't understand. Those sunglasses might be the reason you're losing.